Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we would go racing with B-class cars that had no more than 250 horsepower. Our first race was at the Sebring Club Circuit. Unfortunately, turn one didn't quite go as well as could be. All it takes is a car to outbrake himself into that corner. It can cause a little bit of chaos. On the most part, vehicles made it through okay. This Cortina was fighting with a MX-5 as they run down towards the next big braking zone. The Mazda does hold the move initially around the outside, gets a big slide and a big twitch through the corner, would end up on the grass. That would allow the Cortina past and the Porsche as well. And in these kind of opening stages of the race, you have a big mistake, you're very slow off of a corner somewhere, you tend to get swallowed up by just about the entire pack, and sure enough, the MX-5 did drop back a bit. Now, I'd started down towards the back with this Datsun 510, both of us having very quick cars and keen to make our way up through the order. The Datsun managing to outdrag a Lancia 037 down towards turn 1. The Lancia wasn't giving up, tries to go around the outside of the first corner. You can do it, but that time Lancia just ran out of grip, and that gave my Mini a prime opportunity to draw up alongside. The Datsun had incredible acceleration, but was actually lacking a little bit of top-end speed. Pulled alongside the MX-5 initially, but would get out-dragged by it down towards the next turn, almost making it 3 wide as they tried to go either side of a Golf. Both think better of it, and the Volkswagen would hold on to his position, and just that corner had allowed me to come and join in the battle. The 510 going for a big dive up the inside. MX-5 gives him space, and the Mazda actually gets a really good run of the turn on the outside. It's almost 3 wide up towards the next corner, as again the Datsun is to the inside. I back out of it and content to try and get as good a run off of the turn as I can, and I will make it 3 wide as we go into the final corner. I get caught though on the very, very tight line on the inside. That makes me a little bit slower off the turn. The Datsun rounds us up around the outside of that corner towards the front, and while the leader was buggering off, second place was having a good battle with a Honda S2000. The Sierra coming under pressure as we go down towards the first corner. Ford going defensive. The Honda has a look at trying to go around the outside, but can't quite make anything stick. And one of the things when you try a maneuver like that, you just lose that little bit of time. You know, the Honda didn't get a particularly good exit off of the corner. That's opened him up to an attack from the Porsche, and the Porsche had a great run over that hairpin. Very quick accelerating car, and sure enough, Porsche would get the place. The Honda tries to outbrake. You're not likely to be able to outbrake the tiny lightweight race car down there, and yeah, the Honda would have to concede the position. Speaking of Porsche, the 944 had a little bit of a poor start and dropped down the order, but again, a quick car and keen to make his way through the pack. Came up against a Lancia Delta. Poor Deltas. I have had a good B-class Delta. They tend, though, only to really excel in the wet. They can seriously struggle with straight line speed. This one was doing a little bit better than the car ahead of them, but still wasn't massively quick in a straight line, as the Porsche was a damn fast car. It's one actually very, very quick car down the straight. You can bear in mind that all of these cars have got the maximum horsepower is 250, so they can't have any more power than each other. Some cars perhaps running slightly less because of handling sort of focuses essentially. Yeah, the Porsche was doing very, very well for rounding up cars with his acceleration. Back towards the front, and this would be a race-long battle over 5th place between the Lotus Cortina and the Toyota AE86. This was how it would pretty much stay for these positions for the majority of the race. The Toyota was trying and looking everywhere to find a way past. The Lotus got the best run that he'd had so far down this start-finish straight, was right on the bumper of the Cortina as they head towards the first corner. It's probably one of the strongest overtaking points on the track. The Toyota, though, just not quite late enough under brakes. Just a metre or two might have made the difference, as the Cortina can hold it around the outside of that first corner and keep the position and get slightly better run down this back straight, and then is out of range for the poor Toyota. There's another pretty good overtaking spot down here, but the A86 is a little bit too far back. The Cortina locking the wheels up and getting a little bit of a wiggle on the way out of the turn as well. But yeah, the Toyota just couldn't quite do it. It then gets very sideways himself and loses some ground. At the front, relatively boring race for our leader. The Lotus 11 started on pole, drove away from the pack. The Porsche was catching a bit towards the end. Porsche, quick car. Lotus 11s, yes, very light, can be an absolute handful. Not the easiest of cars to drive, most definitely, but yeah, particularly unsurprising with the Lotus 11 taking the victory, with the Porsche coming home in second place and quite a considerable margin over the rest of us. This was the fight for third, as I said, went on for the entire race between these packs of cars. The S2000 was still looking for a way past. The Sierra doesn't get a very good final turn across the curb, a little bit on two wheels. Car gets thrown sideways, and now just the mad drag race down towards the line as the S2000 is trying to creep up alongside, but it is going to be too little too late as the Ford would take the final spot on the podium ahead of the S2000, and the Cortina would fend off the Toyota. I was having a fantastic race with the Datsun, made a little bit of a mistake and dropped back on the closing couple of laps, but as we came around for this final time, the Datsun was out wide. That put my Mini right behind, looking for a way past. Datsun going very, very defensive. I know I can't quite do anything here, but it was more a case of I was trying to get the good run off of the corners, and sure enough, the Mini was very, very quick. Again, the Datsun dives very deep under brakes, trying to cover that inside line. I'm just focusing, get as good a run out of the final turn as I can. I knew the Mini had some fantastic acceleration, and it's closing and closing quickly on the Datsun as we come down towards the start-finish line, but it's not quite enough. It was incredibly close between us. Not quite enough, though, for the Mini. It was a good race, though. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. And I had the by far highest placed front-wheel drive car. Race number 2, we would head to the Silverstone National Circuit as Lotus gets a very, very quick start, as you could imagine, offline. MX-5 absolutely flies as well. The Alpha we're following here stuck on the outside. Civic gets a big twitch and a big slide out across the turn 1 curves. Not really where you are wanting to be. Again, my Mini has started fairly down the order, and these front-wheel drive cars, of course, struggle immensely to get off the line, especially when you're comparing it to the sort of vehicles that are racing in this one. Some morons at the second corner. Most of us making it through okay. My Mini just about surviving it. The Alfa Romeo here struggling a little bit for straight line speed against the likes of the Civic and the Lotus, but will be quick through the corners. He's trying to get onto the back of the Civic. Lancia Stratos, absolute handful through the corner, struggling massively with some oversteer in that car. The 4C trying to get to the inside of the Lotus as an Alpine has an off at the final turn. Now just the drag race down towards the start-finish line, but the Alfa Romeo is just not quite quick enough to do anything about the vehicles ahead. Shows the nose, but it's too far back, and it's a very fast first corner here. Very, very little in the way of braking zones. At this stage of the race, Civic was the highest placed front-wheel drive car, but there was a rather large queue of cars lining up to try and find a way past. The Forza replay cameras are dodgy. I don't know why it is at that particular point they decide to be all out of focus. Unfortunately, they do. The Lotus gets himself to the inside and would out-accelerate the Civic. Honda does start trying to come back at him down towards turn 1, but you're stuck on the outside, and against a Lotus, it's not likely to end well. Plus some curbs, spits the Civic sideways, just about manages to gather it all up. The advantages of a front-wheel drive car, when things start going wrong like that, you can boot it, and you will probably get the car back under control. Do lose a heap of time, as an MX-5 would round him up around the outside. Lancia Stratos was still struggling with grip, but was in there in this particular fight. My Mini was once again a pretty damn quick car here, and I was keen to make my way once more through the order. It was a very, very busy midfield here. Quite difficult to make progress as the cars up ahead, cars all around you were fighting as the CRX and MX-5 get themselves into trouble, kind of picking off cars as they made mistakes and so on. There was one car, though, that was mighty quick in a straight line. The Fast and Furious Escort was stupendously fast down the straight. I have no idea how that car is as quick as it was. It was just in another league amongst all of these vehicles. I was busy fighting my way with an MX-5. The 205 up ahead was trying to get my way past, trying to sneak to the inside. I couldn't do it. The Escort is just gone. There's nothing we could do to compete with that car around here. It's 3 wide coming around the final turn. The MX-5 going in the middle of all of us. The 205 lacking a little bit of straight line speed as we head towards the first corner. The MX5 is going to try and go the long way round, just about makes it, but you run out wide there, you could often be slow down this next straight, and I'm going to continue to fight my way through the next corner, as I know the Mini is good under brakes here, and pretty good accelerating car as well. I would get my vehicle to the inside and hold the position, and Alpine would join in the fight as we come down the back straight. The very, very slidey Stratos was up next. He was still having a fight with the Civic. The MX5 certainly hadn't fallen too far. The 205 wasn't that far back either. Head through the next corner. We try and double team on the Stratos. I picked the wrong option, get stuck on the inside, and there's nowhere really to go through there. The Stratos and Alpine get a job. I'm going exploring out wide through this part of the track. The MX5 would make the most of it and get the pass done. I would get a good run off of the corner despite my very, very wide entry. That would get me past the Lancia. It was a frantic midfield going on at this stage. Places changed very, very quickly, and one little mistake, one out of position moment could cost you a whole heap of places. Just an entire train of cars would want to come past. The Escort was continuing to absolutely murder everything when it came to even the slightest of straights, breezing around the outside of a BMW 2002. The Escort wasn't fantastic through the corners, but it could accelerate so fast and get so far ahead that it didn't particularly matter against these vehicles, as it would just bugger off. BMW not got any hope of really fighting back against the Escort. And this group were continuing to squabble for positions, and it maintained a really rather large group here. The 205 fighting with the Stratos up ahead, and Alpine fighting with the Civic. I would overtake the Civic to become the highest running front-wheel drive car. 205 goes for a big dive up the inside. Civic and Alpine gets a little bit together as they're all going nose to tail into this final corner. The Peugeot going for the outside line gets a big oversteering moment. The 205s can be notoriously difficult to build and set up. They can get very, very twitchy, get very unhappy around, even assuming left is four-wheel drive, but four-wheel drive, they're still going to be very, very uncooperative at times. So yeah, got to watch out for the snappy oversteer as the Stratos is also sliding, trying to look for a way past the Civic. The 205 having to take avoiding action from a sliding Lancia. Gets across the curb, is on the outside though through this next corner. Not really where you want to be. It is a long way to go around the outside here. And sure enough, the Peugeot gives it a try and just about manages to keep it there, aided by a Lancia sliding once more. They're still neck and neck as they come down this next straight. This is all helping the Civic escape up ahead and helping an Elise catch up and join in the fight. Once more, the Peugeot is to the inside, going for that dive. Got to be careful across the curbs though, as cars will get on two wheels. You see the Elise have a twitch as well across those curbs. Still, the Peugeot just can't quite turn in to this final corner. Another big slide from the Peugeot as he tries to get the power down. Fortunately for him, the Lancia was having as much trouble putting the power down as he was, and finally the 205 gets the position at the front, and things were all closing up for the final lap. A Lotus Elise was leading the way, being hunted down by a Honda S2000, and behind them was the crazy Escort, but they only had a lap. They had a lap to try and fend off the monumentally fast Porsche. Honda was faster than the Elise in a straight line, trying to have a look down into turn one. The Lotus goes defensive, but in doing so takes a very, very tight line and just can't quite maintain the speed. The Escort do a little bit of grass cutting on the inside. The Honda would just about get the position from the Lotus. Of course, the Elise is going to be quick through these turns and is right on the bumper of the Honda as they head down the back straight. They've got to be careful with that mighty fast Escort not too far behind. Lotus Cortina is a lap down and keeps out of the way. The Elise is nice and close as they run into this final sector, and this is of course where the Lotus is going to be fast. Not that the Honda is a bad car through the corners, of course, but the Elise is going to be quick through here. The Ford has closed up massively down that last straight. The Elise though can't quite do anything, is too far back until the S2000 eats a curb and spits the car out sideways, spins wildly across the track. The Escort, in avoiding him, hits the curb on the inside and spins around the last kind of kink, and the Elise would take victory. The curbs at Silverstone are vicious, apparently. I didn't realise quite how bad they were around that final corner. We didn't see too many issues, but well done to the Elise for making it through all of that. I would once again have an incredibly close finish in this one. The Mini was, again, a pretty decent car. Caught up to an Alpine after he made a mistake on this last lap. I'm stuck on the outside, and I know that's not really going to work. I'm happy to cut back to the inside on the exit, get as nicer a run out of the turn as I can. And the Mini had some good acceleration. It's a tall order against an Alpine, and we are absolutely neck and neck as we come down towards the line. Unfortunately, Alpine just manages to beat me. It's about 2/100ths of a second between our two vehicles in that one. So 2 races and 2 photo finishes for my Mini. Race number 3, we would head to the Sonoma short circuit. Lancia Delta absolutely flew off the line. The S4, I think, started about 7th place and gets to 2nd by the time we get to turn 1. Admittedly, it was getting past my Mini that's terribly slow off the line, but yeah, considering there were some other 4-wheel drive cars and so on in that the Delta launches like crazy. And now he's looking for a way past the Cortina already. These S4s can be very quick, notoriously difficult to drive / set up, often very wibbly and very wobbly. We've seen them plenty in various videos. They can have all sorts of handling issues, but this one was going well. As the Cortina ends up out wide, the Lancia would take the opportunity to get past and had some pretty damn impressive acceleration out of the corners, and that would put the Delta to the lead. Further back, things will be a bit more spread out. A few mistakes and so on would, spread out the field a fair bit. Sort of outside the top 10 was, relatively sparsely populated. These 2 S2000s were having a good fight as the lead car runs in a little too deep through the first part of that corner. It's a very easy thing to do at this circuit. It's there are many different lines you can take through that opening corner, and quite easy to get into a trouble. There's also a fair amount of rally crossing from various vehicles. Incredibly easy to drop a wheel over the curb there and get in trouble. We did have another mighty fast Escort in this particular race, but around Sonoma, not quite such a huge advantage. Yes, a very quick accelerating car, and down the small straights it would be fast, but there are some incredibly fast flowing corners that was a lot more of a handful. However, would manage to get the move done on my Mini after I got myself into a bit of trouble going up onto 2 wheels. I had to be aware of an Escort behind me, another Escort behind me, looking for a way past. I can cover him off. The Escort ahead is going after a 205 as we run down towards this final corner, have a big dive on the inside. I was keen to follow the Fast and Furious car through. However, if you do run that outside line, you can often get a really good run out of the turn. We've seen it time and time again. The 205 would get back past me, while the Escort would muller the Cortina down towards the first corner. That acceleration was very useful to some of these cars. I would get back past the 205 as the Mini had some very good top speed, although we continued to battle behind, while the Fast and Furious Escort, I'll get the 205 once more, Fast and Furious Escort will be up into 3rd, Cortina exploring, we'll go and try and chase down the Porsche. Further back, an MX-5 had a poor start, but was trying to make his way back up through the field, gets it all manner of sideways, but keeps it to the outside of a Scirocco. Maybe not quite the ideal position to be into the final corner, but again, as I said, you take that wider line, you can sometimes get a very good run off of the turn. It might not always look like it initially, but you can run very quickly out of that corner. The Scirocco gets into a little bit of trouble on the outside of the course. The MX-5 is to the inside into turn 1, which is very much where you want to be. Does run a little wide, gives the Scirocco plenty of space, but the Volkswagen too far back to try anything through that corner, and then has got to start worrying about a Lotus trying to find a way past. The best of the action would be with this front group. The Escort Cosworth was still stuck behind the 205, still trying to find a way past as they crest the hill, and both of them looking for a way past the Cortina. Sonoma is a difficult track to get overtakes done at. The Escort spots an opportunity, gets a mega run off of the corner, and would get the place from the Peugeot. It's a tough track because the corners are so fast and the braking zones are so small. Your best bet is into the final corner, but even then, as I said, there are couple of different lines around there that work, so getting overtakes sort of done cleanly here is a tall order. The 205 very nearly finds a way back past the Escort Cosworth through the incredibly quick S's. The Escort having a look at the Cortina but can't quite do it. He has to fall into line, ends up out wide through this fast corner. That's going to put the 205 on the inside for the run down towards the hairpin, although the Pug not quite quick enough to really challenge the Escort at that turn. The Escort just managing to get clear. 205 does get up the inside of the Cortina, but the Cortina was using the wide line there, getting the run off of the turn to fight back against the 205. Unfortunately, a little bit of weird lagginess going on. I've seen this more recently, I don't know what it is, where the replay has the cars kind of getting stuck inside one another. It's a peculiar thing that goes on. Either way, the 205 would eventually make the move work on the Cortina. Now, as the race progressed, probably the best battle of the field would be for third place, and this is a battle that would go on for much of the latter half of the race. The Escorts, as I said, stupendously fast in a straight line, but was struggling through the fast corners, and my Mini was very, very good there. So we were actually getting very similar lap times. I had a big go at the hairpin because, well, that's where my Mini was strongest. That's about the only opportunity I ever had to have a go at the Escort. The problem was, even if I could get the pass done, as soon as we came out of the hairpin, the Escort would be gone. I could catch up massively, catch up really quickly. I could brake so much later than the Ford into this first corner, but I was never quite close enough to really have a sensible dive. I had to make up so much ground before I could get to a point where I could try and get an overtake. It was certainly an interesting battle, that particular one between us. Further back, the field was a fair bit more spread out than we had seen in some of the earlier races. This S2000 trying to make his way through the order of the Cortina, gradually dropping back as the race progressed. It didn't quite have the pace to run with some of these faster cars. The Honda having a look. This is one of the tougher overtaking spots you're going to find, but the S2000 is to the inside. Gets the car alongside, would get the position just about on the run towards the hairpin. Again, the Cortina finds himself stuck on the outside as the Lancia wants to bite into the action as well. Once more, though, the Cortina getting fast off of the corner. However, the S2000 is able to break clear and move up a position. Yeah, around this track, you often have to try and get brave at some of the faster corners if you're going to want to try and get an overtake done. I was still spending time staring at the back of the Escort, unable to find a way past. We were slowing each other down massively, with the Porsche up ahead was quickly escaping the way, and the car behind was catching us because we were just fighting so ferociously over this place. I saw a good opportunity. The Escort got in a lot of trouble through the first part of the S's, got the car sliding, got all out of shape. That was going to be my opportunity to get up alongside. However, I'm forced to take a very, very tight line through this quick corner. I can't make the most of the Mini's handling, and the Escort would be back alongside and past as we come into the hairpin. I can mess about with my line. I try and do a cutback and I can get a great run out of the hairpin, but it's no good. Can't do anything about the Ford as he pulls away. Then we'll come out towards turn one. I'll close back in. That's probably my best chance that I would get with the sort of positioning on the track. If I could break clear of the Escort straight line speed, I could probably have pulled away slightly because I could be so fast through the corners, but I could never get the Mini past and the right point on the circuit. At the front, it was a relatively lonely race for the Delta S4. This car was incredibly fast around here. I think it was lapping about a second quicker than a large number of the field. That's a huge lead over second place. Goes for a big slide through the final corner. I think that's a great Porsche there, just coming into shot around the hairpin was second. The S4 was incredibly quick around this track. A very, very good car. Quite surprising considering how difficult and uncooperative they are to drive from standard. I was yet again to have a interesting final lap, still pushing, still looking for a way past this Escort. My best bet was to hope the Escort had another moment through these corners. It wasn't easy to watch, it wasn't easy to drive through these fast S's. If I could get up the inside, compromise the Escort somewhere around here, maybe I could make a move stick. It gets a bit of a slide, but it's just not enough. It's not enough for me to be able to pounce, for me to be able to make a move stick. We come into the hairpin. Once more, I found myself stuck on the outside. I'm happy to take whatever line I can, but it's not really going to matter. The Escort Cosworth, who caught up massively, is right there as we come towards the line for the final time. But the Fast and Furious Escort would take the third place, my Mini fourth, with the Escort Cosworth in fifth. Was one hell of a race, that one. Little infuriating, little frustrating at times, still good fun. Drivatars decide to finish it off with some bumping. Still my Drivatar even can't get past the classic Escort. The Mini was a bloody good car though. The fastest of all the front-wheel drive cars. Admittedly one of a few front-wheel drive cars, but it certainly held its own. I do love the Cooper Works, but as much as I hate the modern Mini, the Cooper Works Mini is a really, really good car, and it very much did hold its own in the battles in this one. Yeah, was very, very good fun. However, that is it for this week's Versus the Community. The next one shall be on Thursday, the 26th of May. We're going to be doing something a little bit different, as we are going to be doing a one-make race using the 2012 Formula Ford. Quite a quick car, plenty of grip in that thing, little oversteery from standard. The cars are going to be run completely stock, so no upgrades, no tuning to the vehicle either. If you want to take part in that event, then you can via our forums. There'll be a link in the description. Find the FailRace versus the community section, and you'll be able to sign up in there. But that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.